Okay, hi, we're back again with the second part of this sort of mini tutorial example thing that I'm doing. I've finished the cleanup of Cleveland. There's still a little bit of green here and there behind him, and that's why I'm choosing to use a green to put behind him, since there was some grass and you can see some of the green reflecting off of his fur. So basically we used the gradient tool, which is in the same little tool block as this paint bucket tool, right? And you can do this in many ways. You could do like a horizontal gradient. We'll show a few different ways of doing this. And we need to pick a color. I'm going to use a green, something similar to grass. That'll do. Well, maybe a little lighter than that. And you choose what kind of gradient you want, whether you want to use the foreground and background colors, whether you want to fade, and there's all kinds of different options color-wise, and then what kind of gradient you want to do. I'm going to end up using this spot tool, but for now we can do a couple of different things. And then you use the mouse or the pen to highlight an area. I've gone and done it on the wrong layer. Let me erase that. Something else I should have told you, we need to work on this white layer that I created as a background. There we go. And you can create gradients like that, where you know, whole sections are still white. Depends on where you want the green to be. Oh, I've done it again. Here we go, select the background layer. Depending on where you want the green to be and how tight you want the gradient to be, like that, or you can do much bigger. I'll keep putting it back on that layer. There we go. So that's one way of doing it. I like the spot layer, so I'm going to use that. And there you select the center point, and then stretch it out from there. And it puts a circle that fades away from the center. But that's the gradient tool, that's the easy part. So we've explored that, we've got something we can use. And really the gradient tool is a good thing to play with and to learn, because it's hard to teach something like that where you know there are so many different ways to try it, so you can play with the different options there. But the Liquify filter is the next thing that I used when I did this picture of Cleveland here. Obviously it's a different shade of green that I've picked, but I made his nose bigger and I turned his mouth up and worked on his eyes a little bit. And that's really where some of the magic is in Photoshop. Liquify filter has been included in Photoshop Creative Suite for a while. Very, very powerful tool. It's what they use. I've selected the wrong layer again. It's what they use on cover models and things like that, and it's also one of the reasons why they shoot people on a white background so often, because when you stretch something it's helpful to have it extracted from its background. That way it doesn't stretch the background as well. And there's a couple of different things, a couple of these different tools I'm going to use. One of them is the Bloat Tool. That's the first one I'm going to use, and that just stretches things and leaves its surroundings alone. Square brackets affect the tool size again, or brush size, and it's helpful to have the brush size dialed in right. Also, density and rate are important in terms of affecting the way that it's going to stretch things, but basically just a little click of the mouse makes things a little bigger there. And you can't go too crazy with it, but you can make the things that you want to appear bigger, you can make them appear bigger. So it gives them a little bit more of a puppyish look, I think. And that's what you want with one of these kinds of pictures. It's more of like a kind of a greeting card kind of a picture. So that's the bloat. You can't go too far without it getting obvious. But that was kind of the point of doing the wide angle in the first place, so we've got most of what we want there. Then we use this forward warp tool. I don't really know why it's called that, but it's more of like a smearing kind of an effect that you select parts of the image and you can drag it around and pull it. And what I use this for is to just kind of pull his mouth here in the corner into a smile. And you need a big enough brush that it doesn't just pinch it, but not too small. It doesn't just pinch a tiny bit, but not too big that it starts pulling the whole thing. I probably could go a little bit bigger on this one and just pull his mouth a little bit more like that. There we go. The other thing I did was I actually pulled his lower eyelid up a little bit, because when you smile on a human face it tends to sort of pinch your cheek up a little bit. So that's what I did. Barely noticeable amount. It's just kind of fun to play with these tools and make it look as realistic as you can. And that's it. That's the Liquify tool. Obviously, again, like the gradient tool, there are these other tools that sort of do the opposite of, bloat. Then there's pucker, and so there's these different tools that you can play with, and there's also these cleanup tools and things, so you can kind of take areas where you might be doing it with a background or whatever and mask it off so that it doesn't twist or move when you touch it. Some of these you won't necessarily use a whole lot, but I use the bloat, pucker and warp tool the most, and that's that. So I hope that was fun.